Hello, God bless you. I am Dr. Cassandra Blackburn, and I hope you are living your best life today. And I am so very excited today to have my guests here with me. And God is so good because God always align our lives, with much meaning. And God always knows what to do. So I hope today that you're living your best life. I hope you are doing the things that make you happy and also that is aligning with God's will, because God wants you to live your best life. And so today I just want to say to you that we're going to talk about today about inspiring each other. How do we inspire each other? We're going to talk about the gifts of God. God gives us gifts, and, how are we using those gifts? And we also going to talk a little bit about leadership. As Christians, God wants us to lead as the Bible tells us to lead. And so, it's very important to be great leaders, as Christians. We have to set the example. We have to be the example. So we're going to just kind of talk about that and just see where we are with that. But thank you so much for joining us. We're here in Duarte, California, right outside of LA. And we're just glad to be here. And let me say this. I am so very excited to have my guest here today. This person has meant so much to me. He's taught me so much. He has just been such a great mentor to me. And I'm just ecstatic that he is here today, that he came down all the way from San Diego to be here with us today. And we have none other than Dr. Dennis Driver. Hello, Dr. Driver. How are you today?
Good morning, Dr. Blackburn. And as you know me to say, I'm living the dream.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you know what? Actually, I don't know if you know this, but the title of this show is because I heard you continuously over and over and over say to me, every time you talk to me, I'm living the dream. Dr. Blackburn, I'm living that dream. I'm living that dream. So, words have meaning. Words stick with us, and they really mean something. So that is one of the reasons why I named this show Living My Best Life, because I was going to speak it into existence. So yes, indeed. We're so happy to have you here today with us. I just want to say this. The first time that I met you at Stillman College. When I was working at Stillman College, you was just coming onto the board, and I knew it was just something special about you, because I saw, when we have that spiritual discernment, we can see that there's something special there. And so, and that has totally been displayed. And I just want you to, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and we could, we're going to work into how your gift, what your gift is, has contributed to, the body of Christ, because we all have different gifts, and all of our gifts work together for the good of God. Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, and thank you, and I look forward to having an opportunity to share a bit more with you and with the others.
Yes.
Really, for me, it starts spiritually.
Yes.
I have really grown to appreciate and embrace the fact that the things that I'm able to do because God blesses me, and He creates opportunity for me.
Amen.
You referenced Stillman. I am a graduate of that, a proud graduate of that HBCU.
Awesome.
And
college.
At the time we met, I'd been invited to join the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
And after 2 years as a member of the Board of Trustees, for various reasons, the board decided to ask me if I would be interested in being chairman. I accepted that responsibility and have been chairman now for the last 5 years, and have been asked to do an additional 2 more years.
Oh,
as
awesome.
chairman.
Congratulations. That is awesome. Well, when actually the president that was there when you came on to, Dr. McNeely, when you came on to be on the board, he called me in his office and he said, I want to talk to you about someone that I'm thinking about bringing on to the board. And so he mentioned you, and he had so many good things to say about you. And he always kind of passed things, to me to see what I thought. And I said, well, he sounds great. And so immediately I went and started doing research. You know me now. You know how I am. I immediately started doing research about you. And so I told Dr. McNeely at the time, I said, I think he would be a great fit for the board. And I told him, I said, I see something in him. Yeah. And so, as I say, it has totally proven to be so. Yeah. Because you have been such a blessing to Stillman. And one thing I say about Stillman College, and I love Stillman, Stillman is really a beacon for Tuscaloosa. Sure. And to be able to, Dr. Driver, to be able to be called to be the chairman of the board, and you're still not done.
True.
Oh my God. True. For such a time as this.
Yes.
For such a time as this. And so I think that's, that says so much to me from God, that what he thinks of you and your leadership. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing. So let me I want you to talk more. I want you to tell me. So yes, we know that you are this great leader. I was listening to a video clip that I heard from Miss Barron.
Yes.
And which was awesome. And she really talked about it, and I could truly relate to some of the things that she was saying when I first met you. Mm-hmm. And she actually said that when she first heard that she was, getting a new boss, yes, she said that she went and she researched you, and she said, she heard everybody was saying that one thing, that you were really tall, and that you were very, very, very super accomplished, and very capable of doing what you were doing, and you were from the Marine. Sure. And so she said all of that made her nervous. Mm-hmm. And so she said, but when she actually sat down and talked to you, she said, things just started opening up for her. Mm-hmm. And it really, to make a long story short, and I am going to share that, if you don't mind, I'm going to share that video prior to this show airing, which will be this month. Okay. But she said it just totally changed her whole, thinking of who she was as a employee. Mm-hmm. And so, because she said it just made her think, I'm not just working now. I am now committed to what I'm doing to make some things happen. So you just have that way about you. You just got that, that charisma about you that makes, you want to do your best. And the same with me, same with me. So where did you get your inspiration from?
Well, a couple of things, Dr. Blackburn, and I'll first go back to the HBCUs. As you and I both know, yes, this is a challenging time for HBCUs.
Yes, it is.
And I feel that what contributed significantly to the board asking me to take on the role as chair, yes, are the other things you touched on. My Marine Corps background. Yes. I was an officer in the Marine Corps, yes, for my first 3.5 years out of college. Wow. And then transitioned into corporate work. And that corporate work has led me to this point, the point where I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief Human Resources, yes, Officer for a biotech company, yes, in Northern California.
That's awesome.
But it was through all of that I grew to appreciate the fact that the leader has a very, yes, significant role.
Absolutely.
And that role is not necessarily about creating followers, but about creating more leaders.
Exactly. That's
and
right.
As I look back at my career, I felt that was my responsibility. My, yes, responsibility, yes, was to try and create pathways for those who had the background, ability, and the desire,
right, exactly,
to ascend to higher levels, and also could understand and appreciate that was a responsibility, and that definitely required that they be willing to step forward and put forth the effort. And so if I saw the willingness, if I saw the ability, and I saw the commitment, then I would do I felt it was important for me to do my very, very best
Yes.
to, again,
Yes.
try
Yes.
and help them to move forward in that regard.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All of that said, it goes back to family.
Yes.
I'm
Amen.
very, very fortunate
Amen.
to grow up in a loving family.
Yes. And that's so important. Yes.
Very much so, very
It
much
is.
so.
Yes.
And so I think in terms of the two F's, faith and family.
Yes,
And so
that's
if I'm fortunate enough to have that in harmony, then that makes for a good day. And,
Yes.
and one of the things I found is that, and I use this sometimes when I'm having conversations, it doesn't necessarily mean that life is perfect.
That's right. Absolutely.
In fact, you flew out here from Atlanta, and I'm sure at some point in that trip, there was a moment where there was turbulence.
Yes. Yes.
And for one who flies a
Yes.
great deal myself, I've grown to appreciate that, yes, always moments of turbulence.
Yes.
But at some point, you return to smooth air.
Exactly.
And my belief is that if I hold on, stay
Yes.
with my faith,
Yes.
that at some point, that
Right.
moment of turbulence will eventually transition back
Amen.
to smooth air.
Amen.
And I know that God does that in my life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
Yes. And you mentioned the turbulence. I think because I switched airlines this time.
Okay.
Because of so much turbulence that I had from the other airline. And so this airline was so much smoother. And so it made me really appreciate, having been on our airline that did not have so much turbulence. So, we go through things and we deal with things because it makes us appreciate, the good.
Yes.
It really makes us appreciate the good. Well, and I want you to talk about, when you mentioned Stillman, and I want to say, when I first came to Stillman, Dr. Driver, I was so amazed. Now, I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama. I have friends that went to HBCUs, and I used to hear all the time, how they were just, the camaraderie that they shared. And so, and don't get me wrong, I had camaraderie with my friends from Alabama. But when I went to law school at Miles, I understood so much what they were talking about because we were like a family. I mean, we were just like close knitted. So, saying that, HBCUs are so important. So what guided you to, instead of choosing, another college, which guided you to HBCUs?
Yeah.
And how did HBCUs, do you think, helped you to be who you are?
Okay. I would say one thing that guided me was the need, and the need that still remains. It'll sound somewhat cliche-ish, but we've frequently heard that to whom one is given much to, much is required. And
yes,
so
that's right.
a lot has been given to me, and thus I felt
Yes.
there was a responsibility to find a way to give back. And I saw the HBCU route, working with Stillman, as an avenue. And in fact, as another thing you've heard me share over the years is my life motto, and my life motto in Latin is non nobis solum natis sumus,
Yes.
which is a quote from Cicero. And the English translation is that we are not born for ourselves alone.
Amen.
So I'm a
That's
true
the truth.
believer
Yes.
that we are our brother's keeper.
Amen.
And so going a route where there was not as much need was not what was calling to me.
Right, exactly.
And so in stepping up and getting involved with Stillman in that way, that has truly helped me in terms of my personal ministry, in terms of having an impact and making a
Definitely
difference.
so.
And one of the things you talked about in terms of camaraderie, the one thing about Stillman is that it is a small school.
Yes.
It still, while it understands the importance of providing students with a strong educational background,
Yes.
it also acknowledges the fact that the community
Exactly.
is very, very important
Amen.
in the experience.
So important.
And so
Yes.
that, and we continue to try and emphasize that.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I can't separate what happens at Stillman with my work
Of
experience.
course, of course,
As you noted, one of my former team members, Jen Grace Barron,
Yes. Yes.
she did I guess it was a YouTube clip about
Right,
her
exactly.
experience in working for me years ago.
Yes.
And the one thing that was really, really important for me in working with her and working with others is that in addition to wanting to help her develop, I saw an opportunity to have a significant influence across the entire company.
Exactly.
And so my
Exactly.
conversation with her was along the lines of, what do you want to do
Exactly.
that can raise and lift the organization
yes.
to levels
Yes.
maybe not ever even thought of
That's right.
by others
Yes.
within the organization?
Amen.
And so periodically you will talk about how pathways get connected.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
not by any design human plan, but
Divinely by God.
yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
Totally. Yes.
And so with my connecting with Miss Barron, it was a case of her passion and her desire to do something
Yes.
different connected
Yes.
with my passion and
Right.
desire to have
Exactly.
an impact. And so
Exactly.
through that, we ended up creating a very novel program that thought not just in terms of how do we maximize performance in the workplace,
Right.
but it was how do we take this and have this be something that an employee can use not only at work but in their lives
Right,
outside of
exactly,
work.
exactly.
And so it actually
Exactly.
connects to your theme, which is
Yes.
living your best life.
Living your best life.
And so
Yes,
for us, it was
indeed.
not
Yes.
living your best life at work, but it was living your best life.
Exactly, exactly. And you mentioned how oftentimes we never know what our path is going to be. We're always searching for what our path is going to be, and we kind of some way stumble, into what God has called us to do. And I often think about you when I was, because we worked very closely at Stillman together, very closely. And we sometimes talked every day when we were going through some things. And but what I always noticed about you, and what I thought was so outstanding as a leader, and I think leaders have to be called. It's a calling. And I really, truly know that you have a calling to be a leader. As Jan was saying on there, she said, you were fair but firm.
True.
And that is so very true, because there were oftentimes you may have said some things to, that suggested some things to me that, that maybe tweaked me a little bit, but, I knew it was correct and I took it, and I used it and I did it. And, but that's what leaders do. Leaders empower, they're there to make you better. And I can truly say, Dr. Driver, being from the first time I met you, it's still into developing our relationship and the things that we had to work on and to do, has truly changed me as a person. Totally, it really has, and I attribute that to you because, like I said, the name of this show is because of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed. Yes, indeed. And during the time, and I have to mention, like you say, you cannot isolate yourself from Stillman, because you have really actually been a great tool for Stillman. You have contributed so much to Stillman financially as well as your time. So what would you say, what would you say during those times that Stillman was going through some rough, difficult moments? And we were going through some rough, difficult moments. How did you, because I can remember you saying to me, I got to be able to sleep at night, and you always showed great integrity in your decision making. And so how did you get through that point of you being now even when we didn't have a president. You kind of had to, step into a global role for Stillman. So how did you handle that?
Well,
That was a big job.
it was a big job,
big
and
job.
my wife, in fact, reminds me of that today.
Yes.
and part of it is because, to your point, during the time that you and I were very actively working there,
Yes.
it was that I spent a lot of time dealing with issues with the new president,
Yes.
Relatively new because she's been there now for 2 years, but
Right.
with Dr. Cynthia Warwick,
Yes.
she has made a huge difference in terms of what she's been able to bring in terms of background, knowledge, experience.
And that's awesome. Yes.
But what kept me moving forward during that period was, again, something that I heard years ago, and I remember it and I believe it, and that is, in the end, it will be okay.
Yes.
And if it's not okay,
Yes.
it's not the end.
Oh.
And
That's
so
that's good. That's
so-
good advice. I have to remember that. I need to write that down.
So it's
Yes,
really
that's really
just
good.
continuing to
Yes.
push forward, knowing that somehow, some way, things would be provided that wouldn't necessarily take away all the issues, but life comes at us a day at a time.
Yes.
Moment by
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
So I just needed
Yes.
to help the college hang on to that
Right.
better moment, and
Yes.
then just build on that, and that's what we've been able to do. But
That's awesome. Yes.
but I wouldn't have been able to share that experience and background with Stillman if it hadn't been, again, what has occurred in my life and the journey where my life has taken me through the years. And so
Right.
it was really just tapping into those learnings and those experiences, and then being in a position where I could share that.
Right. And you know what I think is so significant, I think, is that, and what is so divinely, I think, ordered, is that God placed you at Stillman as a student.
True.
And now you have basically helped turn Stillman all the way around. That's pretty powerful.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
pretty powerful, Dr. Driver. Because that lets us know that our what God has assigned us to do, if we step into that, if we walk into that, we can change so many things.
True. Very much so.
So many things. And I really know that because I was in the center of all of this, and I was right there with you, trying to help you do whatever I needed to help you do. And so, but I can truly say that when God has called you into a position, you can know that the success is going to be there. It's going to be there because God doesn't, he doesn't give us a task that, that he's not going, as you say, not going to finish, and not going to make us help us to be successful at it if we do it.
Yes.
Yes.
Very
If
much
we
so.
do it, if we do it. So it's just, and we're going to continue to talk to you in the next segment. We got some other things we want to talk to you about. But this, I'm so excited. I'm so elated to have you, here, because I really think people really need to understand about leadership and God is tied together.
Yes. Very
You
much.
can't do one without the other.
That is my belief.
Yes.
It's truly my belief.
Because Jesus was a leader. And him being a leader, yes, he had to deal with secular things, secular people, secular thinking, all of that. But there was a spiritual way to do it. And when we do it in a spiritual way, God does the rest. So we want you to stick around.
Okay.
And we want you to stick around because I want to talk to you a little bit more about some things. And I know you have done so many things in life. You got a bio like this, but you have done a lot of great things and have inspired a lot of people.
Thank you.
And so it's awesome to just know that I'm just honored to have you a part of my life. I really, really am. I'm so honored to have you a part of my life and to have learned from the things that I've learned from you, because I still carry those things with me. I still do them. I still think about you. I still hear your voice. Yes, yes, indeed. And so we're really happy to have you today. And let me just ask. We're gonna go ahead and conclude this. We're gonna go ahead and conclude this segment, and we're going to have you on in our next segment.
Okay.
And we're gonna further talk about some stuff.
All right. I'll stick around then. All
Yes,
right.
yes, indeed. Thank you so much for coming. And we want to say thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you're living your best life and just go out and do those things that will cause you to be able to live your best life. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.